Play is a very important part of your behavior remaining appropriate, well-regulated, and not getting too caught up in any sort of emotional neuroses. Play is simply purposeless fun. There's no goal. It doesn't need to be productive. It doesn't need to make you money. It doesn't need to win you accolades. It's just voluntary curiosity and experimentation, which has an inherent attraction, but doesn't really need to accomplish anything else. It's just things humans do. You can draw a picture without the intention of ever becoming an artist or selling this or practicing for anything even. You just are drawing a picture because it's something that humans do to pass the time. It does something in our brain that is enjoyable. Just fun, just play. So think about what would be on your fun menu, and that'll make it easier to reach out and say like, okay, I've got some free time. I'm feeling stressed. I could use a little bit of play. Now you know what's on your menu. You have some ideas about where to start, so you can just go to it quickly. And then take little delights, like maybe a piece of candy or taking a different route somewhere. Little things that you can add to your day that are just woven into it to make it a little bit more enjoyable and a little bit more novel. Just think about a few things that you could do that would be little surprises that you plant in the day that aren't whole activities, but it's just a nice thing for you. Remember to schedule fun first on your calendar so you prioritize it and conceptualize how you use your time in relation to getting to fun, which is, what life should in large part be about. Productivity, yes, but fun, productivity for fun. And then relaxation, different than fun, different than play. When you're relaxing, your brain is, again, doing something different. Meditation is relaxing, but pretty much anything else you could be doing is not relaxing. Relaxing is just laying in the sun, just listening to the sound of the ocean. Then finally, gamify tasks so that you can make tasks that you would have normally tried to avoid into actually fun things. So you can have a race. You can race against yourself, the time it takes to complete a certain repetitive task. You can have a point system and rewards attached to the point system for every time you do things. You could visualize your tasks as dragons or evil villains instead of action figures that you knock down with each task you complete. Finally, you can visualize things in terms of progress bars and skill checks. Even when I'm, even when I'm in the worst meeting, I can see the progress bar on that meeting filling up, and I just sit there smiling at it, and I can remain engaged because I know it will end. And this little game mechanic reminds me that the end is near, and I just have to keep hitting skill checks until that progress bar fills. All right, personal identity. The outward trappings of your identity are shown through your clothes, your hygiene, your presence, the way you carry yourself. How you dress is something that, of course, makes a statement no matter what. I personally think it would be great if we could all run around naked and nobody's trying to project any sort of communication to each other. We're all just humans. But that's not the world we live in. And so your clothes are going to say something about you. It's important that you are intentional about what that message is, because otherwise the message is, I didn't care what I looked like because I don't really care what I'm saying, which means I don't really know who I am. The clothes bring into focus some assumptions that people can have about you. So try to make those assumptions what you would want them to be. If that assumption is, I don't care what I look like, I don't buy into this whole fashion thing, that's fine. But it's a very low energy statement. So one way to get around the you don't need to become a fashionista to get around this. You can do very rudimentary, very simple things to live your life in a way that expresses that you're excited about yourself and you know who you are, and you're not just a low energy person who's making the most basic choices. A way to avoid the stress of how do I dress every day but still look like you care is to have sort of a uniform, right? Like all solid colors, or maybe for a while you're the person that only wears all black things. These are ways to kind of find out what looks good, what works for you, what you get compliments on, and then get more of that outfit, that uniform, into your wardrobe so that you can lessen the decision fatigue that it takes to get dressed in the morning. Because really you only have so many decisions that you want to make in a day. So why spend that thinking too much about your outfit? So that's a good system. A way to find out what clothes really appeal to you and what works is to use the hanger trick to find out what you actually wear and what you feel comfortable in. Every time you wear something, or face all your hangers in the same direction. And then every time you wear something, turn the hanger around. And now you're starting to identify what hangers don't get turned, therefore what pieces of clothing you never wear and don't really represent who you are. It's going to tell you something and hopefully make you more aware and give you a better insight into how you express yourself visually. Then hygiene, of course, it's super important. Cleanliness is next to godliness. This is, again, how you take care of yourself. Who you are on a subconscious level is reflected in your hygiene. Not only the clutter around your house, but the clutter on your body. So make sure that you're always clean and well pressed in as much as you possibly can be. And then finally, presence. This might be the biggest one for me. Presence is almost like exercise because it takes effort to have a presence. It is who you are, but it's also a communication that you're constantly having on sort of a low level. So think about what kind of energy you exude. Is it calm or is it anxious? Are your movements deliberate and steady, or fidgety and quick? Do you perform tasks with sort of workmanlike efficiency, or are you obviously laboring to do your work? Your posture, is it expansive or does it contract? And are you non-reactive and sort of like steadfast in your composure, or are you compliant or even hyper reactive? Do you constantly go with whatever idea is in the air, whichever way the wind is blowing? These all represent two sides of presence, high status and low status. And neither of them is bad. It's just the kind of energy that you exude. Think about that and think about how frenetic you are, which is more low status and sort of easily influenced, versus how steadfast you are and solid, which is more of a high status thing, and it's calm and composed. Creativity is something that is often associated with atypical thinking, and rightly so. We have a lot of inspired ideas as atypicals because we are able to dive into that pool of all the information and all the stimulus we've ever gotten and just pull up these wacky connections that wouldn't occur to most neurotypicals. But Our symptoms and the constraints of society can also hamper our creative growth or even cause us to abandon our creative pursuits entirely. We often tell ourselves once we start going to school and more restrictions are placed on our behavior that my creativity isn't important anyway. Maybe we get criticized and we get embarrassed, and then we don't want to share that. We don't want to explore the creative natures of ourselves. But as I said before, creativity is hugely important for your mental health, and it's not something that we need to be good at or do for anyone else or monetize. So it's important to take pressure off yourself for what your creative spirit has to be. It's just an expression of curiosity. It's a way to play. It's something we naturally do. So begin to explore your creative identity again, build your creative competence, and enjoy the emotional connection that you start to build with the things you create. A lot of times this can take a big change in your life, something that jars you back into exploring your creativity as sort of a survival mechanism, but it can also be rediscovered just through intentional exploration. So enjoy the value that you have, appreciate the value of other people and their creativity, and grow your creativity and team up with others so that we can do bigger, cooler projects and make the world really interesting and fun.